What's going on, everyone? Thanks a lot for coming back to another episode of Dr. Homebrew. We are here drinking a couple of beers, and I couldn't be happier because, as Brian Shar says, it's fun.
It's fun.
It's fun, man. Whatever. What else is fun is our sponsor, 5 Star Chemicals. Go to 5starchemicals.com. Join their homebrew club program, which isn't really as daunting as it sounds. It's just a way for them to contact you and give you discounts on stuff like PBW. And hey, here's some new product we might be working on. Can you test it out for us? And that kind of fun stuff. So check them out, 5starchemicals.com. They care about the way you brew beer. They want to help you make the best beer possible. So do we. Well, at least Shar and I, Cooper, want to make bad beer. But
no. Only send us the 14s, the 17s. Yeah, that's what we want.
Yeah, right. 13 or lower. Yes.
The courtesy 13s. Yeah, send them in.
No, the one thing that somebody always, that the first time I walked into a homebrew shop and I was like, okay, I want to buy a homebrew kit. What do I do? And the guy that had been brewing for a long time and ended up teaching me how to all grain brew later on, Al, he's like, sanitation, and sanitation.
Yeah,
that's what 5 Star does for you. Keep everything
Absolutely.
clean, get it clean first, and then sanitize it, and that's half your battle.
Yeah, absolutely. The other half is with the elements. I don't know what that means. All right, joining us today again, I think, right, is Brian.
It is again.
Another council of Brians.
Yes.
Yes.
With an eye.
Yes.
There we go. Yeah,
With
the
the
three
eye.
eyes. Yeah, we got Bob Marley's backing singers right here. And they call weren't the women called the three eyes? I think they were, weren't they? Nobody. Okay.
I'm just not a reggae fan. I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. Brian, what's going on, man? How you doing? What did you send us today?
How's it going? Yeah, I sent a check. I don't remember if I entered it as a pale lager or a premium pale. I'm not.
Czech
Pale Lager.
Czech pale. Okay.
Nice.
I went back and looked. I was here almost exactly 2 years ago to the date. It was November 24th, 2021, with a Czech lager that had a very distinct green pepper flavor.
Okay.
I remember that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I emailed
Mhm.
Cooper and I was drinking in my basement like a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, oh man, like this is I hope it doesn't have green pepper flavor. And I was like, can I do a redemption episode? Can I send you a beer that maybe hopefully doesn't have green pepper?
I fixed
Yeah.
my green pepper.
Yeah, so
We left
we'll
him out
see.
this time.
Yeah. And I don't know, can you?
To be seen.
We'll see what's going on. Those are the Czech pills. All right. Cooper, why don't you start us off with the Czech pills and rate it on a scale of let down to fun.
Okay. Yes. So cracked the bottle and had a nice hiss to it. In the nose, I'm getting a medium light bready malt. Clean lager, no obvious esters. Medium low spicy and slightly herbal hop character. No DMS or diacetyl. It's clean. There's no obvious alcohol going on here or anything weird that's not expected. It's for a light beer and for it being still pretty cold. I judged it cold and I put it back in the fridge so it's still cold. Which you don't want to judge these too warm. It's characterful. It's got a lot going to it. It seems bold, but not like over the top bold. Just like, wow, okay, that's for lighter style. This has got something going.
Like a nice plate of appetizers at Applebee's, right? Bold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The beer is medium gold and it's brilliantly clear with a medium white head, well formed, and it maintains good retention. Fine bubbles for the most part. Appearance, full points. So in the flavor, very pleasant, light and clean. Feels like maltiness, medium low hop notes, again spicy and a little herbal. Clean lager. The balance is fairly even, malt to hops, but the hops win by a bit, I guess. But the malt character is pretty firm, so it does stand up to it, and it works nicely, I think. Medium low bitterness, dry finish, spicy hop with a light malt in the aftertaste. very enjoyable. It's, and the alcohol is restrained, but the beer doesn't seem like it's weak. It does. You don't taste any alcohol. You don't really get alcohol in the nose, but it doesn't come across as watery, weak, light. Less than for a beer that tops out at 4%. Hey, it seems well, maybe it's bigger. I don't know, but in the body, I guess medium light body, medium CO2 in the mouthfeel, driving things. No creamy or astringent qualities here. No warmth, but it is a nice crisp beer, very refreshing. Yeah, overall, it's just a really clean and enjoyable Czech Pale Lager. I thought almost seems on the bolder and bigger side for the style, if not a little over that. So I would say, I'd maybe take it down a touch for that, but I kind of liked it where it is, honestly. And so good solid pills. It could pass as a premium pale lager, Czech premium pale lager, but you could lighten it up a little bit if you wanted to, but I can't find anything really wrong with it. It's a 40 to me. I'd say it's excellent beer. So I don't know. See where Brian lands on that.
40.
I thought it was very crisp and enjoyable, just right down the middle of the road for the style. I don't get anything out of place, and it kind of meets what I want.
All right, Shar, let's go. Does it meet what you want?
It met what I wanted.
Nice.
So, Brian, I have to commend you for actually putting your homebrew club name on the label of your beer. So thank you. But since our listeners can't go in my kitchen and read the label of your beer right now,
no, that's extra.
Could you? You've got to be a premium supporter on Patreon to come to my house and look at the bottle of my kitchen. Can you tell the listeners what club you're in?
I can. I'm a proud member of the Keepers of Craft in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Nice. And you got the K for Kalamazoo without having to do something like, we're the Kalamazoo Brewers, whatever. So nicely done. So I enjoyed this beer. I've had very few Czech Pale Lagers, and I was surprised. I always pull up the BJCP guidelines, even though I don't, especially for styles I don't know that well, because you always learn something. And I was surprised to know this beer could be like 3%. This could be like a lager version of an English mild in a way, where it's got a lot of flavor and not a ton of alcohol,
and a lot of green pepper. And you were trying to figure out if that should be there, right?
That's the 3F, I think. The Czech green pepper lager. That's no, I did not get green pepper anywhere in this, so nicely done with that. Aroma, it's definitely a medium, even medium high bready malt, which I thought was great, like a bread, like a good French bread sort of character. Got a low spicy hop aroma, a little less than expected, but not so much less that it was worth knocking a lot of points off. I give it 8 for aroma. No, I didn't get any off aromas at all. Nothing there that shouldn't have been there. And especially when you think about this beer being, maybe a 4% beer, I'll be curious what your original and final gravities were. But thinking about this being a very light beer, I mean, there's a lot of good aroma in here. That bready malt really is the leader here in this, and it's really good. I keep talking about it because I like it a lot. Appearance, 3 out of 3. Large head, settles a little quickly, but I'll attribute that to my glassware and not to your beer. Medium gold color, crystal clear. Let's see, it's not focusing. Yeah, I have to turn my blurry off. It's not going to do that right now. Flavor, initially got a medium low bready malt character that kind of matched what I would have expected from the aroma. It would be weird to not get that flavor when it was so prominent in the aroma. Followed up by a firm bitterness, which it's a medium to medium high bitterness, but it's at the right level for this style. The guidelines, I forget the exact words the guidelines say, but it's supposed to be definitely prominent, but not excessive. This is not a cold IPA. This is a Czech Pale Lager. It's got the appropriate level of bitterness. The finish is long and balanced. Yeah, definitely get. There's just such a great malt flavor. It's a long, balanced ending. It's well attenuated. I was wondering if I got just a hint of like a sweet corn, like a DMS in there, but it's not. If it were DMS, it would become a lot more prominent as it warmed up. I've left this sample out of my kitchen for 2 hours, and it's not like it's super hot in here, but it's not cold either. And the beer has definitely gotten up to like probably 60 as far as temperature goes. Yeah, if it had something like DMS, that would get a lot more prominent with that temperature. And I'm just not. I think the sweetness is more just the malt and not any kind of corn. So get that 14 out of 20 for flavor. Mouthfeel 5 out of 5. Medium body, medium carbonation. No warming. It's creamy. Overall impressions 7 for a total of 37. I really like this beer. That it's really flavorful and it's especially for a low alcohol, lower gravity beer. It's extremely well done. It's something that is. It's noticeably different from a German style beer, which is really cool. It's not on a different planet than Germany, but it's next door, and it's got a definite Czech character to it, which I liked. If there was DMS, you get away from that by boiling for 90 minutes with Pilsner malts. I'm not telling you personally, it's more for our listeners so they have some idea what to do about DMS. You want to make sure you have a longer boil with a lot of Pilsner malt, 90 minutes, even 2 hours potentially, or 2 hours. And then potentially, if you have the ability to do that, I think it's about 160 is the temperature you want to get under as quickly as possible to avoid formation of DMS. Does that sound right, Coop? I think when you're cooling, you want to try to get through that danger zone. And I think it's about 160 you want to get to as quickly as you can.
Yeah, I think it's like the 140 to 160 range kind of in there.
Okay.
If you're
get
up
through
towards,
that,
towards 200, 180, 200, you don't have to worry. But once you get down in that middle,
okay,
I think that's where the conversion of the SMMS to DMS would occur.
No, sounds good. But yeah, I think it was really well done, Brian. I appreciate you sharing this with us, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I like this beer. It's it's almost like a Imperial Czech Pilsner, an ICP, Insane Clown Posse beer. That's what this says. It's AO and Juggalos.
Are you down with the clown?
No, until I hit the ground, baby. But no, also not at all. Yeah, it is. I'll be honest with you. This style, it tastes kind of more like a German Pilsner in the way that it's sharp and aggressive, from like aggressively hopped. And I have a problem with German Pils sometimes because of that. Sometimes like the sulfur, like the sweet kind of sulfur, to me clashes with the hop. And I get that it's very reminiscent of that for me in this beer. So I think it is a little too robust. I think if you drop it like 20%, maybe 10%, for me it would be much more approachable. But it is very clean. I do like it a lot. I like the flavors and the characteristics. It's just, I think, a little too robust for me, for my personal taste.
If we were sitting down at a judging table and we all found that we said that, and I said it too, we might just kind of adjust, like, okay, I was maybe a little generous.
Okay.
Let's go to a 38 or something like that, or, and average it out. But it's a really well-made beer. There's no denying that. It probably is stronger than 4% if I had to guess. So, I forgave it for that just because I liked a lot of the other elements, but I did pick up on what you're saying, JP. And I think that's the water a little bit. The waterness is accenting the bitterness of the hops a little bit more than it would with the same amount of hops in that really soft Czech Pilsen water, that super low mineral water, just enough calcium to get your starches to convert and keep your enzymes working in the mash.
This is more minerally.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm finding that now too. And as it warmed, it probably would be even, well, as it's cold, it's kind of maybe a little biting that way too. But I don't know. Brian's tasting as it's warmed too, and you're getting a bolder character yet. So I like when it's cold, it's nice. And I got it as crispness too, which is, it is supposed to be crisp and refreshing and smoothly drinkable.
I think it's like, honestly, 85% there. I would probably give it a 35 to 37. I think it's a very good territory. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But Brian, go ahead and tell us about this beer, man. Let's go through your recipe.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, I'll start off by addressing the elephant in the room. This beer did end up being right around 5%.
Okay.
So it was probably a little bit above what like the normal, I guess, Czech Pale Lager ABV range was.
Goes up to like 4.1. So,
yeah. So I entered this beer into multiple competitions before I sent it to you guys too, in both regular Czech and in premium, and it sort of bounced around. And so I'm still not 100% sure where it actually belongs, but based on your feedback, I really think that this particular recipe is probably a premium. But really, there's not a whole lot to it in terms of malt. It was 98% Wehrmann Pilsner. I think it was their Bohemian malt, and then 2% Melanoidin. I didn't decoct this. I kind of bounce around year to year, decocting or not decocting. This was not decocted. And about 25 IBUs of SOTs in the boil at 60 minutes, and then another 5 at 5 minutes. So about 4 ounces total for this beer. I used to ferment, I'm going to butcher this. I think it's Bujoyevitz or something like that. Strain, it's White Labs 802.
Bujovice?
Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know.
Maybe.
I've Googled
Bujovice.
yeah,
Bujovice.
it sounds like Bujovice, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Booty vice.
Yeah.
Booty yeast, yeah.
So it's the first time using this yeast. I like it. I think it's certainly very Czech-y or whatever, but yeah, I mean, that's really about it. I mean, fermented at, I think, like low to mid 50s, normal diacetyl rest once it was at like 65-ish% attenuation, and then cold crashed it and kegged it.
What was your water?
So the last time I was on with the green pepper check, you made the same comment that you thought it was very minerally. And so that actually sparked a whole new thing with me in my brewing, like for all of my beer. Because I normally use brewing water, like as a spreadsheet to do the water for my beer, starting from RO. And I kind of thought that maybe all the beer that I was brewing was maybe too minerally. So this particular one, I only got up to 50 parts per million on calcium.
Yeah.
And just called it.
Yeah.
So it should be pretty, supposedly pretty not minerally, but I agree with you. I was talking with my girlfriend earlier today too. It kind of tastes minerally, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. So by the numbers, it's just enough calcium to convert, and that's what you got.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
It's not like super sulfatey to me. It's not like it, it's not super minerally, but it plays really crisp, and it plays, I don't know. There's a lot of, it's very well carbonated, and that's going to drive a little bit of bite too, a little carbonic bite, but I don't know. Yeah. The minerally quality, it's odd.
yeah.
Did you get it, Brian? Do you find it to be minerally seeming or like sulfate heavy?
Usually I'm pretty sensitive to mineraliness, and I'll give you that licking a rock feedback. I can, it's maybe somewhat, but I don't think this is one that's really out of line. This is not one that I drink and like, oh my God, the water was over adjusted, or it was, I could be talked into it being a little minerally, but I don't think it's excessively so.
Well, I think the level we're talking is not licking a rock straight to that. It's like more like a German Pils than a Czech Pils, like JP was saying. And I could see why he kind of maybe said that, because it does play. But I think maybe it's just partially the bitterness. You put a lot of hops in this.
For me, that's what struck most was the bitterness, and then as I was tasting it, the mineralness, the mineralosity kind of came through a little bit more too. And so to me, it leans more German Pils than Czech Pils, but to be fair, I haven't had many Czech pills that aren't Pilsner Urquell. So, you know, what are you gonna
So
do?
would you want like the bitterness to be more like in balance with the malt, but have like that sort of like bursty like aroma?
Yeah, I think so. And the other Brians can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the Czech Pils kind of style. It's like it's not as aggressively bitter, but I think it's more on the sweet malt side.
Yeah,
You
it's let me pull this up here. So, still on the autumn seasonal beer. Let's see, 3A.
Yeah.
If we're going to talk about Czech Pale Lager,
Bitterness is prominent but never harsh, is what it says. Yeah. And then for the premium pale lager, bitterness is prominent but never harsh. So same thing.
And I would say that saying it's harsh is not what I mean in bitterness wise, but it is aggressive. It's an aggressive bitterness, because harsh to me denotes there's an error or it's unpleasant or something like that, and it's not that. It's just I'm taken aback by it because we're trying to categorize it, so it's a little bit like it's a little different. But I mean, I would still buy it. So
yeah. I mean, you're aggressive is more than prominent, and I think that's kind of a perception that where is the bitterness in this? Is it crossed that line to being aggressive? I don't know. I think to me it's prominent, but not aggressive, and to you it's a little more aggressive. And it's maybe the bitterness may be right on that line. So maybe when you rebrew this, I mean, you might back off on hops a little bit, just to maybe get the hops a little bit away from that line. But I wouldn't back them off, a lot.
I'll tell you what. To me, it tastes like a lot of American craft versions of German style pilsners or Czech style pilsners.
There,
where it's a little more in your face than maybe what the style calls for. But at the end of the day, it's made well and it's drinkable. And I would drink this and I would go, okay, that's not what I think it is, but I'm not unhappy with it. And I will still finish the 4-pack or whatever. That's how I can kind of communicate it, which is like put it in a consumerist sort of way. That's what it is. You know what I mean?
Love that.
Yeah.
I think too that you can probably get minerals from other places in the beer too, and that malt contains some minerals and some sodium and potassium and different things in there, calcium, some magnesium. There's different levels of things in there that can come in and accent the way that the beer is playing too. But I don't know. You sound like you used a really special, interesting malt, the Byron, the Bohemian. That's a pretty cool.
And I think I can smell that bright kind of malt thing. So I think everything is good. It's just a little.
What I would do, is keep this pretty much as it is, but I would probably up the late hop a little bit and enter it as a premium pale. Because if you enter it as a premium pale, the strength is right, but the hops are not quite there to balance, and I'd want a little more late hop for that. As a Czech, regular pale lager, it's fine. But and it doesn't really say much, the hops being that much different. But with alcohol going up, you kind of want a little more, and so I think that would make sense.
Maybe move some of those bitter additions to the late additions, sort of like.
Yeah, I mean, with the soft water that you use, the bitterness. Well, yeah, it's. If there was any more sulfate or anything in the water, it would probably really come through with what you did there.
Okay.
But yeah, if it was RO with just enough calcium to get there, maybe lighten up the bittering. It's not going to hurt it. There's enough there. It can be
theoretical too.
Right?
It's all theoretical, man. Yeah.
So maybe I lower what I added in this time again anyway, and then just see where I come out with.
Yeah, I think your malt is good. I mean, I think and for me, in my experience personally, and then just doing the show, that's the hardest part. Even though the malt bill is always simple, for the most part, it's getting that flavor, that malt flavor, that like pure extract of that malt, right? That pure essence, that pure expression of that malt in lagers is very hard for a lot of homebrewers to do, and I think you did it really well.
Yeah,
so I think for me, you have the hard part down. Now you just need to refine the last 10, 15, 20% of the hopping and the finishing of it. And There
I
you go.
totally see that. Yeah.
Well, I'm
100%.
finished. This is the last of the beer I have left. It's obviously I'm not having a problem with it. It's real easy to sip.
Yeah, I want a
and-
refund. God damn it.
Yeah.
Brian, is there anything else? You got any questions for the boys, or we'll let you go?
No, that's it. I appreciate you guys
Cool.
having me on and redeeming myself a little bit. No
Hey,
green
man.
pepper.
Yeah, well, just a little bit. You know, that green pepper was still. You got to do a couple more shows before that you're redeemed for them. Just kidding.
Okay.
We need like a secret sign for the Council of the Bryans or something.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, we've convened and now we're disbanding
Yeah.
for another 2 years. You'll come back and
You chug
hey,
a
I finally
vial-
figured out that mineral thing, and now we're all 2 years older. Jeez.
You all chug a vial of White Labs at the same time. All right, everybody, we're gonna take off for a break here real fast. We're gonna come back. Ryan from Old Standby Brewing is back on the show. We got a couple beers to drink from him and see what's going on in the Brewing for Philanthropy or charity or both. I don't know. I'm not too good with words. I feel like Brian Shaw right now. So hang on, everyone. We'll be right back. It's Dr. Homebrew. All right, thanks a lot for sticking around, everybody. We have Ryan back on the show. Ryan, what's going on, man?
Hey, doing good, man. Appreciate you guys having me back on the show.
Of course, yeah. Anytime you
Yeah.
want to send us beers, we're willing to dissect and chat
help
about
me drink them.
Yeah.
Turning into a little series here too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Serious.
We're getting to know you over time. We're talking about doing a little matchmaking for you or something. someday.
Absolutely, yeah.
That'd be super
Yeah.
fun if we could make it happen.
That would be. Yeah,
Yeah.
we should totally do that.
And Ryan, of course, is from Old Standby Brewing. And just to recap our listeners, Ryan, what is it that you do? You brew beer for charity.
For sure.
Essentially.
Yeah, I'm a home brewer. I've been a home brewer since the 90s, but a few years ago, I decided to try to raise some money through beer. And I reached out to some local small breweries around town, and they loved the idea. And so we brewed a beer, and it just kind of blossomed from there. I have 3 companies, Yakima Valley Hops and Imperial Yeast and Link Malt, to donate all the ingredients. And I hit up breweries and see if they want to brew a charity beer with me. And so we work on a recipe together and decide on a charity that we're passionate about. And we brew the beer, and the brewery handles all the sales, so I don't get involved in that. And then after the
Lucky.
beer is done, yeah, totally. They handle all the sales, and then we both promote the beer, and then they make the donation directly to the charity that we chose
Nice.
after the sales are done. And so just finished up number 11, going on, finishing the second year of this, and I'm already planning some for 2024 now. So
Nice.
Yeah,
The
for
last one, or one of the last ones we drank, was for the Dornbrecher. Is that how you say it? The Children's Hospital.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I heard it on a podcast the other day, and I was like, why does that name sound familiar?
Oh, really? Okay.
And then I remember the show. I was like, oh yeah, because and the pod was about specifically they were getting like a bunch of bomb threats because they were doing a bunch
really?
of, I think it was like
Jeez.
maybe transitional care or something like that. And Moms
Okay.
for Liberty tweeted about it and edited some video, and like they were literally getting bomb threats about it, and they had to shut the hospital down and stuff. I was like, oh yeah,
Jeez.
that's right.
Right,
I didn't know if that
Yeah.
timeline matched up or it was after that or whatever, but
Yeah, that must have been after. Yeah, I brewed that one with Zoigelhouse in Portland, and
that
yeah,
was a good beer.
that one benefited Dornbecker's. So yeah, Dornbecker's is amazing.
Dornbecker.
They only do amazing things. So
Of course. I mean, how can you
Yeah.
not? How can you not?
Seriously.
Yeah.
Before
Can we
we get to
briefly, I wanted to ask a question. Okay, briefly.
yeah.
So we know where Yakima Valley Hops is. You got Imperial Yeast out of Portland. I don't know a whole lot about Link Malt. Could you tell me a little bit about what
for
their
sure. Yeah.
vibe is, where they're from, what they do?
Yeah, they're up in Spokane.
Okay.
So way up there in Northeast Washington area. And Link Malt is like a subdivision of Link Foods. So they're a co-op, and they work with all these farmers. They're one of those places in Spokane where you can sign up to get those fresh food baskets, seasonally, whatever's ready seasonally. They provide that, but then they work with the community. They're super tied in with the community and helping people out, hungry folks who just trying to make ends meet and everything. So they help out there. And then about 8 or so years ago, they started a malting division. And so Link Malt has been doing craft malting now, and I think they doubled their capacity like around year 3 or 4. And so they work with farmers in Washington and Idaho and a little bit in Eastern Oregon. And so
That's really cool.
yeah, they've been a great company so far. And man, it was just like an introduction through the Yakima Valley Hops people. They were, when I was trying to get this all rolling, I was like, man, it'd be sweet if I could get a malting company to donate some malt for these collabs. And they're like, oh, you should talk to Brian at Link Malt. And I called him up. Man, we just hit it off right away. And he was like, where can I send the malt? So let's get this going. So yeah,
Another
it's been
Brian.
super cool. So
It's good to know there's a Brian involved. Yeah,
for sure,
Yeah.
all the Brian.
he's got to be an I Brian too.
That makes it feel better, honestly, that there's a Brian involved.
Yeah, I love Imperial and Yakima Valley hops too. So yeah, it's all good. Not to discount any of those, but I just wanted to learn a little bit more about
sure.
that. So thanks for that background. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Before we jump into the beers, Andrew in the chat, those old listeners will recognize ZZ in the form. He says, I don't know, Andrew, maybe. Okay, here's what he says. This is the negative to the show. It's a good beer, but you guys have to nitpick the beer following the guidelines to a T. It's good feedback, but it always sounds really negative. And I don't disagree with him, but I just wanted to bring that to light, and maybe we chat about it for just a quick second, where I hope it doesn't come off as negative, but he's right. That is the downside of the show, where it's not a positivity fest. Because you're never going to improve your beer if everyone's like, I fucking love that. Give me $100. I will pay you $100. Right?
It's not a bad point, but I made I made a point in that, like a couple of the earlier episode, there was we were talking about like a bunch of flaws, but I loved the concept, and I made sure I talked about how that was a really cool idea. That was a thing that not a lot of homebrewers do, and I thought that I tried to give, if you're going to give criticism, you need to give positive criticism as well as negative criticism.
I mean, if you're not going to look past, if there's diacetyl in the beer, if you get artificial butter in the beer, to me, it's not it's usually a negative in most beers. It's allowable in a Czech Pale. So if that Czech Pils we had just tasted, it had a little bit, hey, that's fine. A little bit light touch of that. It's okay. It's allowable. But in most beers, it's a negative, and it's going to detract. It says in the guidelines that it shouldn't be there. So we're not like saying, you're a terrible person because there's diacetyl in your beer.
No, we
And
just
most of the time
imply it heavily. Yeah, it's just heavily implied.
You won't hear us use like derogatory terms to describe a beer. We're judges. We try to be encouraging and share our feedback at least to some point. Hey, this beer has da-da-da-da going for it. And then here's what I would improve.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't when you're in school, when you're in college or whatever, you wouldn't tell the professor, well, this is the negative part of being in school because now you have to grade my work. I'm a joke. Right. I mean, and I know ZZ was not saying in any sort of like negative way or complaining way, but I think it was more of an observation, which I think is a valid too. It's a very valid observation.
As a judge, you kind of have to struggle sometimes not to be a fault finder. You're like, okay, what is it that I like this beer, but it's not quite there. What is it that I don't like about it? And that's what I like.
That's what I like about the show, and that's what I wanted to do. The show is because it's not just judging. It's not just complaining. It's not just giving tips. It's showcasing what it takes to provide feedback to somebody. And you have to tell them why you think this. It's because I have this and I taste this and the guidelines say it shouldn't be here. And this is how you fix it. And I think that's where we do our best work, is we say, this is how you can fix it if you want to.
Get that green pepper out. Yeah.
Yeah, you piece of shit. Whatever. Okay. I just wanted to bring that up because ZZ's an old timer, and
cool,
and it was it was a good point. It was a good point. I like talking about it. So, what beers are we got? We got Higher Purpose, which is a lager from Steeplejack, and of course Old Standby, and then Little Star, which is
this one's a barrel aged saison with some Brett in there, and we aged it on some heather flowers. And probably want to start with the lager.
I would guess, right?
Yeah,
okay. So tell us about Higher Purpose Oregon lager from Steeplejack. What's an Oregon lager? Is this one of those things where we're going to start calling it like, it's not an Oregon lager, it's a Pacific Northwest lager?
A Cascadian lager.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's we just made that up. It was like, we're heading in towards the colder months, and we wanted kind of a higher ABV lager, and so we actually brewed 30 barrels of this. It's the biggest volume out of any of these collabs I've done so far. So
30 barrels of lager.
Yeah. And so Link Malt donated a full pallet, man. We got a full pallet of grain donated. And actually
Cool.
on the back of the can, you can see there's another donor on there, Coldstream Malt. And they're actually two of the farmers that are up in the area. And they donated half of the grain for this beer. And so, and then Link does the malting, and then so we got everything delivered to the brewery. We brewed it in like mid-September. Got some other notes on it here. We used Steffi pills in this one.
Okay, yeah.
Which,
That was the hot
yeah,
malt for a while. For like
Yeah, for
6
sure.
months, Steffi Pills was everywhere when it came out.
Right. Yeah. So Link has like 4, maybe 5 different Pilsner malts. And so the brewers really liked the flavor of that one. These brewers at Steeplejack had used Link malt quite a bit already. So they were kind of familiar with the different flavors of the Pils malts. And then we threw a little Munich and a little bit of wheat in there as well. And then we have some Pearl and Saphir. I don't know how to pronounce that one exactly.
Yeah, Saphir,
Yeah. And then we also hit it with some Vista whole cone. We were going to use some fresh Mount Hoods, but they weren't labeled yet for packaging and everything. They were the fresh 2023 crop, and so we were like a week too early to use the freshest ones. And so we had to use a different one that they had on hand, which was Vista, which they were stoked about. I've never even used Vista before, and they had used it in the past. So we threw some whole cone in late, like Whirlpool edition. But yeah, like we decocted. This was probably like a 4-hour mash, and
Wow.
by the time the kettle was full, at 30 barrels plus, we were looking at a good 4 hours in the morning for that. And then
what are you doing? You're standing around for 4 hours. Like I can't even make it through like just a normal 60-minute mash at a place if I like
Steeplejack has the raddest staff in town, and there's quite a few of them. They're all doing their thing, but they're taking breaks and hanging out with us, and they were just super cool. Like we just hung out. We pulled some hot malt off the mash tun, and one of the brewers mixed some mezcal cocktails with the hot wort. It was tasty. It was so good.
What time of day was this?
That was probably around 10:30.
That's exactly what I was guessing. I don't know why. I was in my head. I was like 10 o'clock. This is what he's going to say.
It was perfect. Yeah. So it was a nice little, like, when the mash is going for that long, it's like, all right,
you know what?
What are we gonna do here? So
Colin, when he brewed at Downtown Joe's, he came on years ago and told us this, like he would make a brewer's toddy or whatever, or he'd pull some wort off the mash and then put a little whiskey in there and just have his little cocktail. But leave it to someone in Oregon to mix it with mezcal. It makes a kind of like artisanal like thing.
Totally.
But
it was great.
You know what? I could definitely see wort being a just sort of like a craft cocktail edition in some of these like more upscale bars. Like you could have it maybe hot in a little serving container on the bar or whatever, and like Definitely. I don't know, that could be really interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you're planning these recipes, man, are you do you do pilot batches at home, and then if so, are you getting like Link malt and you're getting all these things, or do you talk to the brewer at Steeplejack like, all right, this is what I think we should do, and you sort of are united more around the cause, and then just whatever beer you make, you just come up with on the fly?
Yeah, more like that. We I've used some Link malt here at the house in some of my small batches, and one of the recipes last year we did scale up one of my recipes, but other than that, I usually hit these brewers up and I'm like, what's going to fit in well with your lineup when this beer comes out, so that we don't have another IPA in the lineup or another whatever. So
what a good marketing partner to be. I mean, I think, I think it's a great lesson for people who want to do this themselves. Don't force it. Whatever works for the brewery in their lineup.
I'm just trying to be as flexible as possible with these breweries, because they're opening up a space in their brew schedule to brew an extra beer for charity. So I'm like, I try to be as flexible as possible and provide whatever they need, really. So,
well, and I think it's you're going about it the right way because you're using the technology or the terminology. You know what I mean? And so I think that goes a long way too. There's a lot of respect being shown,
Totally.
that way as
Yeah.
well. So yeah.
For sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you
so,
just
yeah.
hit it and you go. So do you go through email and be like, hey, this is maybe what we should do, and you plan the recipe so that, and then you send it to everybody and you go, okay, this is when we need it, and then you
sure.
do all the coordinating.
Totally. Yeah, I do all of that. Yeah, once we usually do a Zoom chat like this with the brewers, or or through email or phone call, like you said, and then plan out the whole recipe. And then once we have our brew date decided, it's like I place all the orders, and these companies just deliver everything directly to the brew house, a day or two beforehand, and then I show up and we brew the beer. So
it's like Amazon, but like with like nice people. That's
yeah, for sure.
with like nice owners.
Totally.
Who actually
these
give a
guys,
shit about the world.
They seem to know how to do a good lager. It's very clean, and it's got a really nice aroma. You get that
For
alcohol though too. It's like a nice clean
sure.
alcohol mixed with that clean lager, and it's like, okay, this is a little.
I
It's
actually-
bold, but it's
I
not
actually don't even
overpowering.
get the alcohol. Like you could tell me this is 5.5, and I go, yeah, but it's 6.3.
Yeah, it's surprising
Yeah.
that it, yeah.
Damn, dude. How long
they-
was it lagered for? Sorry.
We pushed this one out pretty quick. I think it only lagered for maybe 2 weeks after primary
Okay.
was done. So a shorter amount of time for sure.
Yeah.
But they've got their methods, and they just stick with them. So
It's
it
very
seems to
smooth,
work.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it
It
tastes
works.
good. Yeah.
for sure.
this
Yeah,
one,
this brewery, they have three different locations. They've got, the first location was actually in Portland on the east side, and they turned an old, like, century-old church into their pub. And that place is amazing. If you haven't seen any pictures of it, you should check it out on their website. It's super cool. And they have a 10-barrel kit there that they brew a lot of their R&D batches, and then smaller one-off beers too. And then out in Hillsboro, which is west of Portland, they have another pub out there, and that's where their 30-barrel production brew house is. And they do all the packaging and everything out there. So that's where we brewed this beer. And then they also have like a pizza shop that isn't a brewery, and I think that's over like in Beaverton. So
I'm
kind of
surprised.
southwest.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't just send you over to the 10-barrel area. They had enough confidence where they're like, yeah, we'll
For sure.
invest 30 barrels into this.
Totally. Yeah. We talked about it actually, that it was like, what's going to work best for the scheduling and which brew house are we going to use? And I was like, if we do a lager and we can kind of keep it at that 2,000 pound weight limit on the pallet of grain, we can get away with the 30-barrel batch and then package some of it. So if we had only done the 10-barrel beer, we wouldn't have hit any of it into cans at all. It would have just been on their draft. On draft only. And so, so we were able to actually package 10 or 12 barrels of this beer. And then the rest of it's on draft all over. So
They must be doing a lot over the bar then in that 10-barrel.
mm-hmm.
That's great.
They
Good for
are.
them.
Yeah. They're a busy spot. So
Nice.
I pulled up their website and looked at some photos. You're not kidding. This place is really cool looking. That's
Oh,
an
man.
amazing location.
It is. Yeah.
You're
They
not
spared no
kidding,
expense
pal.
on their church. And they've just done, and they're fairly new. They've only been around in the Portland scene for, I want to say, less than 5 years.
Wow.
Wow.
And of course they were able to pull brewers from all these great breweries with all this experience, and they pulled some people together, and they have just a super cool staff. And
I don't know,
I got
Ryan.
to work with, working with everybody. It was really cool.
They're pulling these brewers, but they're still doing 2-week lagers. I don't know. Just kidding.
Yeah.
What's the charity? What's the cause that this beer's going for?
Looks
Yeah,
like
so
there's
this one, two different charities for this one. So the Women's Craft Fermentation Alliance, they have the WIBS conference every year. And this year I was a speaker. I was invited to talk about brewlanthropy. It's a weekend event, and they invite people in the industry from all over the world. And it's an online event, and it happened at the end of October. And so we kind of brewed this beer specifically for that charity. And then the other one is Mashing Barriers. That's this one right here. And the Oregon Craft Brewers Guild, they put together an internship program to try to get a little bit more diversity in the brewing industry. And so they actually have a paid internship where a brewery will do the hosting. And the next one is going to be out in Bend. I don't know if they've named the brewery or not yet, but they've done it 2 or 3 times now. And then these people end up working in, usually they stick around and they get hired directly at these breweries. But yeah, this internship kind of helps get someone new into the brewing industry or fermentation space where they normally wouldn't have that opportunity.
Excellent. Yeah,
Very
I
cool.
think
Yeah, for sure.
those are two great causes. Absolutely.
Yeah, we, I mean, Women's Craft Fermentation Alliance. We had Melissa and Michelle on
right.
our show a while back, and
Totally.
great,
For sure.
great people.
Yeah,
doing that.
Michelle's a friend here. She's a home brewer up here in Portland, and we did she organized the Black is Beautiful homebrew collaboration that we did during COVID, where we supplied these. She got 12 homebrewers together, and she took donations directly, or actually people donated directly to the charities, and then we rewarded them with these mixed 12 packs, and we raised like over 10K in donations for these charities during COVID.
Wow.
So
That's
Michelle's
awesome.
pretty rad. She's the one who actually teamed up with me to do the Brewlanthropy, the little talk that we did for the
wow.
WIBS conference. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
She's a very good ideas person and a total like
totally.
no bullshit kind of a person. Like what
Big time.
face value is what you get.
Yeah,
For sure.
And-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she just started this other new, I guess it's sort of a nonprofit, but it's for just to bring awareness. It's called the Evergreen Initiative, I think it's called. It's to try to kind of break down the barriers to get more women to enter homebrew competitions. Because she's a BJCP judge, and she goes to these competitions and it's like, it's all dudes, right? And so she's trying to like break that down and make it a little more accessible for women to feel comfortable. Because there's plenty of women who are homebrewers out there, but they might not feel comfortable entering the competitions. So,
and what do you do as a competition to welcome them? Yeah, there was a lot at their talk at Homebrew Con. Michelle and Melissa went into a lot of detail and did some research on why that is, and polled some people on what's going to make you feel comfortable entering the competition. What could a competition do better to be more welcoming? And I think we all should be, just hey, let's bring them all in. They're out there brewing.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't want to be surrounded by dudes at every brewing.
Well, I mean, I think number one mainly is whenever you see a woman come to like a homebrew conference or your homebrew club, make sure to never leave them alone. Constantly talk to them. Make sure they have your phone number. Ask if they're okay all the time. Follow up with them. Show up where they work and make sure that they're comfortable, and only then will they ever come back. And if there's a restraining order involved or whatever, maybe they get the wrong idea. So ignore it. Go to their house and explain to them, not over text. Just I'm sure.
Sounds like you've done this a few times. You've done this a few times, right, JP?
Thinking about like, obviously I'm joking mostly. Thinking about like being in this industry for so many years, since 98 or whatever, and over time seeing the sort of the trickle of women coming in, for a long time going to NHC, HomebrewCon, or whatever it is now, but it was NHC, or these conferences, there were no women, maybe a couple, but they were usually working at like the BA or the AHA or whatever. Right. And then the people that would come would be spouses and girlfriends and such. And it was like, okay, that's really cool. But you can sort of see that if you're a woman in a literal sea of men, you could just almost smell the fear, because you have men who've been drinking and are like, oh, what's going on? It's the new person. Let's look at them and let's make sure that, we make them as uncomfortable as possible. And I always felt really bad for these people, because they're trying to like get into it. And then, as time goes on, people are like, oh yeah, this is my girlfriend, and she brews more than I do. And you could definitely like count the rings in the tree of home brewing and inclusivity, and how women are starting, women were coming in, and it was but I always felt uncomfortable for them, because it's like, I have a feeling I know kind of what you think is going on, or maybe what has happened to you, these experiences and gatherings of men who have been drinking, who think they know things, because I feel the same way whenever you get cornered by some homebrewer who thinks they know everything and they're just talking at you. Right. Like, I just don't want to be here right now. It's uncomfortable for me, and I'm a guy who does this. So I can only imagine what it feels like on the other side. Man. So yeah, the more comfortable we can make people, the better. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. In anything, really, that should just really be the rule.
For sure.
All right. let's get into the. Actually, you know what? Let's take a quick break. We're gonna take our last break. We're gonna come right back. We're getting a little star. We're gonna learn a little more about this beer with Ale Apothecary. See, there we go. Already one of my favorite breweries up there, and I've only had them once. But anyway, we'll be right back, everyone. It's Dr. Homebrew. Don't go anywhere. I mean it. I will follow you. You already know this about me. All right, thanks for hanging around, everybody. We are back here. We're speaking with Ryan from Old Standby Brewing. He does a lot of brewlanthropy, is what he calls it, which is brewing for charity with a lot of commercial brewers. And, he's already mentioned Link Malt and Yakima Valley hops and Imperial yeast. So he's sort of making a name for himself, running around, brewing at other people's places and not having to clean up, which I think is the way to go.
Yeah.
But he helps with the cleanup.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I wouldn't. Kidding me? Here. No, I'm here for you. I'm here. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. All right, what's this beer? What is this beer? Because I love Ale Apothecary beers. I remember when we had them on the session several years ago. Those beers were all just amazing.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. Paul Arney is a former brewer from Deschutes, going way back. I think he was there late 90s. He was there for quite a while, and then he branched off about 10, 12 years ago and started his own thing, wild fermentation, spontaneous fermentation. And he's got this brewery out at his house. He lives kind of up in the woods, kind of west of Bend. And so he does all the brewing up there. And then in town, he's got a barrel aging and tasting room. And so I hit him up last year, actually. And the timing wasn't right. And we kind of made it work later on or into this year. And we actually brewed this beer in April. And
this
so
beer is so amazing. I'm just going to interrupt.
It really
you.
is.
It's so good. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he does it, but I'm having flashbacks of that show because it was just me. And I got to drink all these great beers. And I was a little disappointed because I had all these beers left over. Because I couldn't finish them. You sent me like these really nice bottles. And it's so like the sourness is so round. And
totally.
There's so many layers to it. And it is not over the top. It is not obnoxious. And it's so smooth and blends so well. What was this experience like? Because he's probably one of, the most, I don't want to say underrated, but maybe unknown kind of farmhouse breweries. If you're sort of in the know, then you know about it. But this man should be Vinny level. To be honest with you, he's one of the
100%
probably top 5 sour producers that I've ever had in my entire life.
Totally, yeah. He's just one of the coolest dudes too. And when this beer came out a few weeks ago, he invited me out, and it was on the same weekend that they have their club event. And so once a year, he's got a kind of like his his club members, and they cap it at 350, and it sells out at the 350 every single year.
Oh, like beer club.
And so for sure.
Yeah.
And so it was their club weekend. And so I hung out there for like the whole weekend. Friday they had this beer release, and then the next day was just the whole club day. And I got to talk to all these people who are like driving and flying in from all over the country because they're members of his, kind of reserve society.
God.
And they're all just so stoked to be there for this event because they know what the product is. They know what they're getting. It's unbelievable stuff. And
it is. It's like and I'm probably blowing way too much smoke, but I don't really give a shit. It's almost like a luxury brand, where you go like they say the Hermes bags, which whatever, I don't know. I watch, I guess, a lot of TV, where it's like you have to sign up to be to even go in to buy anything, but you don't know what you're able to buy. You just have a reservation to go and meet with a person, and they say, well, this is what we have right now.
Right.
And people are always going to buy it because they know the quality. They know it's there. That's my dumb equivalent.
No, yeah, I get it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all these people were so stoked to be there. They get some certain bottles that aren't really available to the public for being in this, kind of club. But then, so they all show up in the morning. They're like, they get their case of, bottles, and then they stick around, and it's like a tasting event, and he's just pouring that, you know, him and his staff, it's him and his wife, Stacy. And then they have one other guy, Connor, who actually started volunteering there 10 years ago. And then they made him an employee, and now they've made him a part owner, just because he's just so good at what he's learned with, you know, hanging out with Paul this whole time. And so he's a part owner now too. So anyway, the club event was just amazing. And yeah, like you said, he's definitely on that Vinny level, you know, like this beer turned out so cool and so amazing. Like this was one that I was so excited to taste because I had no idea what we were going to get. You know, we mashed this on a Wednesday night up at his house. He has these 2 puncheons that he's converted into mash tuns. And so we mashed in the night before, and then he's got these like jackets that go around them and these lids that go on there. And the mash just rested all night in these puncheons. And then the next morning I roll out there and we mash out and we sparge that grain again, and we go into his kettle. But his kettle is this kind of pieced together. It's kind of like a steampunk kind of theme in there. His kettle is only 3.5 barrels. And so we had to do 2 separate boils because we brewed a little over 7 barrels of this beer. And so you mash out and you sparge into his kettle and you do the first boil. And he only uses whole hops. So we use some whole cone Mount Hoods for this beer. And then it's like round 2, you know, he transfers that into like a kind of like a holding tank. And then round 2 gets brewed from the other puncheon. And then they get blended together into this tank that goes in the van, and we drive it into town, into Bend. And then his fermenter, he's got one conical fermenter in town, and that's where we fermented it with the Imperial, the rustic Saison strain. And so I was there for over the course of 3 days to do all of these things. So just pretty amazing experience altogether. Like, I'm just so stoked that he was like, yeah, I'll brew a beer with you. I was like,
yeah, because when he does it, it's not just like, oh, it's a short beer. It's not like pale ale or whatever. It's an involved process. I mean, you're moving wort. You're crossing city lines. Totally. You're not stationary. Yeah. So this is a Saison style, aged in oak barrels with heather flowers and can conditioned with raw cane sugar, called Little Star.
I finally just took a sip of it. I've just had my nose in it for the whole time, and it's one of those kind of beers where like the nose is changing and evolving. At first, it has this big hay-like bright thing. The heather is real subtle underneath, but it's in there. And the Saison style with the funk, it's just really, Brett and
there's a lemony character to it. There's a pH thing, and it very much, gets the sides of your mouth.
It's a tart Saison. It's not
for sure.
It's not a straight one, but it's really good. Holy smokes.
Yeah. And I think like for someone who's never had a sour beer before, this would be a nice, like, kind of, I don't want to say gateway, but it's like very approachable, because of the tartness. It's not a full blown sour. And so
I'll tell you, I've had white wines that approach this kind of level of tartness, and I feel like that's generally the comparison of like, well, if you like this wine, you'll like this kind of style of beer.
Yeah.
It's soft enough. It's soft enough. It's a little more aggressive, but it's absolutely. So what charity is this for? Where is this going?
He chose a homeless shelter out in Bend. And originally we had their logo on the label here, but when he showed them the label, they didn't really want the name of their homeless shelter attached to an alcoholic beverage. And so they definitely still loved the support, but they just didn't want their name on the label. And so
that's cool.
And so it's a shelter for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a shelter out there in Bend. So yeah.
Considering, I imagine there's a lot of alcohol associated with homelessness and the problems of fixing that, but also, can you say what it is? Can you say what shelter it is, or you'd rather not?
Yeah, they're called the Bethlehem Inn. is what they're
Okay.
called. And they've got a website. They're a nonprofit, a 501(c), and but yeah, they help out tons of people right there in the Bend community.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, he's lived in Bend now since the late 90s, so he's seen the transformation, firsthand of
Yeah.
$100,000 house turning into a $2 million house like overnight. It's just been everywhere has
Yeah.
been wild like that, but Bend has been this little kind of Central Oregon little situation where it just exploded. It seemed like overnight, but and just priced tons of people right out of the market, and
Of course.
and so yeah, so I don't know if you guys had a chance to read the Zymergy article. I reached out to a bunch of these brewers after I worked with them, like for quotes for that article, and one of the coolest things is Paul said that he's driving around town and he sees he's like running errands for the brewery and doing the thing that he normally does every day, and he just doesn't he thinks, all right, I need to do something, I need to help out more. And when I approached him, he was like, I just basically helped him like cut through all the BS and like brew a beer for charity, like that.
Yeah.
It was like one of the coolest things that any of the brewers said. Like I just helped him basically to get it done.
Focus.
And,
yeah.
For sure. And
Yeah.
so
I think there's a point where everyone wants to do activism.
For sure.
They want to help out, but they don't know how because they have all these responsibilities and they have all these other distractions. But if something comes along, yeah, I'll support it 100%. Let's do what if you can work activism into what I'm doing, I think you're going to get, which is why you're probably more successful than maybe anybody else who's tried to do this, where it's you work into their schedules. They don't have to do anything they don't normally do.
Totally. Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah. For sure. I've just tried to make it as easy as possible, as like streamlined, and work with their schedules, work with the style that they want to brew, and provide the ingredients. Like these three companies have just been amazing.
They're busy
I think,
people. These smaller
Yeah.
smaller to medium-sized breweries that there's not not a lot of extra time. They're doing everything in these places a lot of times, and
Totally.
this sounds like a real mom and pop and one other
Definitely.
guy, and that's it.
Yeah,
Totally.
mom and pop, one other guy. Yeah, fantastic beer. This is a great beer. This is a treat. This is a
Wonderful,
real treat.
yeah.
I really appreciate
For
it.
sure. Yeah. I'm just stoked the way it turned out, and just the whole experience working with him and then going back out there for the release was just super cool. It's been pretty amazing.
Got anything else in the works?
Yeah, actually, I'm booking some things for 24 already. I got a cool one right at the beginning of the year. There's a brewery up here in Astoria called Fort George. You probably heard of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they do this festival in February every year. It's called the Festival of Dark Arts.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
And it's so cool. It's like they hold it in the middle of February, and if you've ever been on any of the coast in Oregon, it's cold, it's wet, and to hold the festival outdoor in February is pretty wild.
Dude, yeah.
Brave.
And,
Yeah.
But man, it sells out like instantly every year. Like the tickets just went on sale on Black Friday at sunrise is when they sell
dude, I love this.
And
I love these people so much. Oh my
the
god.
tickets sold out in like 5 minutes, man. Seriously. Because I had to jump on there to grab one extra ticket. They were like, because we're brewing a beer for that. I hit them up and I was like, hey, you guys want to brew a charity beer and for Festival of Dark Arts? It'd be rad if we could, put a stout together for that. And so
because it's a stout festival, right?
Yeah, it's specifically there's like 70 or 80 stouts. Fort George does like 15 of them, but then all these other breweries do all the other stouts.
I'm drinking mine.
So,
I got my stout right here. I just made.
There you go.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah. And so so we're putting the recipe together. We're gonna do the goal is to like try to get your stout to stand out in a
field
70 other
dude,
stouts.
there's no way. That's impossible.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we threw out some ideas, and we're gonna add some buckwheat in, and we're gonna brew like a 7.5%, pretty approachable stout, and with some hazelnuts and some buckwheat, and so so I'm gonna go out there in the middle of January and brew that one. and then the festival is mid-February. So that'll be the first one to kind of kick off the
Do they have
new year.
like metal bands and shit playing or nothing like
Oh,
that?
big time, man! It's like
Do they really?
it's full on. It's yeah. They've got like glass blowers and tattooing.
I feel
and
like that's everywhere. You pull up at the gas station, there's people blowing glass. Like, oh, do you need a replacement window? We'll just go ahead and fix it right now.
For sure. Yeah, it's like all the dark arts come together. All these kind of crafts people that are in the area.
And it's all different breweries and come around.
And it's just it's just a huge party, and it's on one Saturday from like noon to however late it goes. And it's like the hottest ticket in the winter in Oregon. It's just wild, man.
That sounds so awesome, man. Good luck. Well, I hope to taste some of that beer. That sounds good.
Everything I've got from Fort George myself is like really good. I like their Vortex IPA. They do some really good stuff.
I hadn't heard of them, so that's exciting. And I like anybody who sort of embraces what I would say like the anti-marketing, like that kind of thing. Where it's like it's not light, literally it's dark, but but they're having fun with it at the same time, and you gotta that's cool. I like that. Find that little niche there.
Yeah,
I know the Oregon coast too. I lived in Portland and Eugene for a couple of years after college, and would travel down like, oh, let's go to the beach. It's
right.
Go down to Coos Bay and go down to some of those places, Bandon. And it's different kind of a coast environment than like SoCal. Sure. I mean, Northern California is it's
I mean, it could be July and you never take your hoodie, you never take your sweatshirt off, right? It's like just leave it.
Yeah, we were just on the coast in Humboldt County a couple months ago, and it was it was fucking cold. But then by 10 o'clock it's warm. Everything's burnt off, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. I guess
I lived in Arcata. I lived in Arcata for a year when I was going to school, and same deal. Like living from growing up in Long Beach and then going up to Arcata, where it's just like it was cold and cloudy like every day that I was there, pretty much. And then you get one of those days, and you're just like, sun's out, feels great.
It's one of those days.
Yeah.
All right, Brian.
Thanksgiving
What's your website? Hit people up with how they can get in touch with you or learn a little bit more about what you're doing.
Yeah, my daughter actually just helped me kind of revamp the whole website, and so it's oldstandbybrewing.com, and I've actually just bought the domain name for brewlanthropy.com too. So if you type either one of those up, it'll go to the site, and I have some pages on there that kind of list every single one of the collabs that I've done and what the charity is that we're supporting. And then I have some swag on there, some hats and things, which have been cool. Like kind of helps fund, my travel expenses. And then whatever's left over, I'm donating it to a monthly charity as well. But yeah, it just kind of tells my story and what's going on. And and if anybody wants to hit me up through there, who's watching the show tonight, send me the contact form, and I'll send you a free sticker and some cool swag. So
yeah, like I told you in the break, I'm trying to get Dave, formerly of Flat Tail, but now of New Spring, to brew beer with you. And he's like, yeah, if I make it, if I survive the winter, if I survive in the next year, that'd be a lot of fun. Because
totally, I got a note right here already.
He's a good dude. Yeah, see, there you go, man. You should also, honestly, you should also grab beer for a cause, because that's a cool tagline.
Both of these beers were really, really fun too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm pretty excited about how both of them turned out.
Yeah.
So are all of your beers collabs, or do you brew an Old Standby? Do you have any? I mean, are you just nomadic and you brew with other people, or do you have your own beer that you ever release?
Yeah, I've been homebrewing for tons of years, and so actually this year is the longest break I've actually taken from homebrewing in since I started, really. Just because I've been so busy with these collabs, and then summer was busy, and so but yeah, I'm getting ready to fire the kettles back up again. But yeah, I'm mostly just doing stuff from, when I'm brewing here at the house, it's just for me and, family and friends. And
send us one of those sometime too. We'll taste just your homebrewed beer one of these times.
For sure.
We'll light into you. We'll rate you in a way that will make Andrew in the chat uncomfortable.
Yeah, just rip me to shreds, right?
Yeah, why not? You honestly, quite honestly, Ryan, you've had it too good for too long. And we're just the guys to take you down a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I come on here.
Good beer, and you're out there getting a lot of experience brewing in different setups and learning some of the tricks. I mean, You're a brewer,
Sure.
you know what you're doing, so I'm sure your personal beer is great too.
Sure.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Why not? We'll see. All right, Ryan. I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
For sure. Yeah. I'm glad you guys had me on. I appreciate you taking the time again to have me on for a
course.
third time.
Anytime,
So,
man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anytime.
I'll keep you guys updated on the new collabs that are coming up. And
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be fun. So
Sounds
Cool.
good. Yeah. Keep
yeah,
Right on,
on,
brother.
happy New Year to you guys.
You
I'll
too.
talk to you guys in 2024.
You got it.
Sounds
Right
great.
on, man.
All right,
Cheers,
man.
Ryan.
Okay.
Later.
Cheers.
Cheers. And if you guys want to be on the show, you can send an email to Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com and he will get back to you post haste, right quick, with the quickness. Brian Shar had a little bit of internet issues, so his lovely voice is no longer here.
He's here in spirit.
Tag.
It's okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah,
I figured he poured that saison and he was just like, oh my God, I need to just
yeah.
like, I'm going to go drink this on my own and
go
enjoy
into a
this.
dark room and just get yeah.
Yeah, he was so
Smells.
angry. He rage quit the show. He's like, I will never get this again.
We'll never top it.
So yeah, hit up
Yeah.
Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com. Get on the show. Send us whatever you want. Kombucha, fucking cider, whatever you want, dude. Sake.
Sake.
Yeah. Why do we both say sake?
Sake.
That's so odd.
I don't know.
We're both thinking about it, I guess.
Sake it to
Mezcal.
me, baby.
Mezcal. There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. It'd be good.
You know, you're going to start making hot toddies with mezcal now with the hot
You know
wort.
what? I've been
Draw
trying
a
to get
little
into mezcal for a while, but I don't really drink a whole lot of hot alcohol anymore. Like I really don't. I don't make mixed drinks so much anymore, and like I'm trying to cut back on my drinking. But mezcal is always one of those things. I guess it's the style that like has very much interested me, and I do enjoy it because I like smoky kind of things. But
Sure.
I might have to buy a bottle, see what happens.
Yeah. Mixed with that hot word, it was pretty tasty. Like
bet.
especially at 10:30 a.m. Like
Sweet,
Can't really
a little
go wrong.
Smoky and yeah. Cool.
You
Yeah.
can't really. I mean, you can, but well, what's the fun in not trying? All right, everyone. Thanks a lot for tuning into Dr. Homebrew, and until next time, we'll see you later.